Bring in show music, please.
Hi, I'm CNBC producer Katie Kramer. Today on Squawk Pod, Elon Musk, trillionaire?
To become a trillionaire, because he's already got how much?
I don't know, a lot, more than he'll ever need.
400 billion?
Yeah, he wants to be in charge.
Tesla shareholders approving an historic pay package that would make the world's richest person even richer.
B's and T's. I can't believe we even talk in T's like this.
As long as he hits the car company's very lofty goals. Musk biographer Walter Isaacson isn't so quick to doubt this time around.
It seems more than just a stretch goal. It seems a moonshot goal. But you and I and many others thought it was unlikely last time, and he did it.
And the Trump White House's plan to lower the cost of popular weight loss drugs for consumers. Dr. Oz, administrator of the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid, lays out the prescription.
Unfortunately, most Americans can't afford these drugs. They're $1,200, $1,300 a month. So in this deal, we are reducing the cost on average to about $250 a month. And if you're on Medicare, which I administer, you're going to pay $50 copay. Government will pick up the rest.
All that today and much more, like Warren Buffett's warning on AI. It's Friday, November 7th. Squawk Pod begins right now.
Stand Andrew by in 3, 2, 1. Cue Andrew.
Good morning and welcome to Squawk Box right here on CNBC. We're live at the NASDAQ market site in Times Square. Manager Ross Sorkin along with Joe Kernen. Becky is off on this Friday morning, but we got a lot going on. You're saying to the downside.
Oh, no, I don't like the term. They were seeing things trading to the downside. It's like, yeah, things are lower. You don't need 8 words.
So here we are. Dow Jones off by the way, 25
points. How many hours
of
TV did you do yesterday, would you say, in addition to ours?
Oh, goodness, a lot.
You are just, what is someone like that called? You're just a multimedia sort of renaissance man, just everywhere, right?
Trying to be.
Do you are you enjoying it or you want it to be over? This is all about the book, 1929. Do we have that ready to go at all times? 19. Do we have it ready to go?
We should have it ready to go.
We should have it ready to go.
We clearly don't have it ready to go. As we talk about it.
I should have said something. I didn't. So, but I didn't see any of your other appearances.
You'll see them over time. Some of them were live, some of them on other channels.
There's
things
probably
like this.
Some of them perhaps were on other channels that I will never see.
That's possible. I know you're glued to one channel.
No, I'm
CNBC.
not. Oh, yeah. This is troubling. It's not Thanksgiving yet, thank God. U.S. airlines starting to cancel flights after the FAA ordered reductions because of air traffic controller strain, which obviously is tied to the shutdown. Controllers have been working without pay since the shutdown began on October 1st, and according to FlightAware, more than 800 U.S. flights have been canceled for today. That's already more than 4 times higher than the average on any given day. The FAA ordered 40 airports to reduce air traffic, including Atlanta, Dallas, Los Angeles, New York, and Chicago. The FAA saying that 4% of flights will be affected today, ramping up to 10% by next Friday. Hertz says it's seeing an uptick in car rental reservations. You can always drive if you have the time.
I don't have the time. I was just because of you just now. I was checking to make sure that my flight was not canceled. I'm headed to the great state of Texas
for more.
This is the Texas Book Festival.
This won't be broadcast. This isn't.
They probably these days everything is broadcast,
and it's because of the book tour for your new book, 1929.
You're waiting for the graphic.
No!
There we go.
Finally.
Okay. Let's talk about what's happening in the great state of Texas.
Don't rush it now that they finally got it
up there. I know,
there.
but we've got a lot of news to get to.
Well, this was a kind of a no Tesla shareholder. In spite of Norway, whose GDP is about a third of the market cap of Tesla. But they didn't want this to happen.
Let's just tell everybody what happened. Tesla shareholders did approve that pay package for the CEO, Elon Musk, that could eventually be worth $1 trillion. Got to meet a lot of targets to get there. The EV maker saying the plan got 75% support.
We have a fantastic board, fantastic group of shareholders. Thank you all. And what we're about to embark upon is not merely a new chapter of the future of Tesla, but a whole new book.
pay package consists of 12 tranches of shares to be granted to Musk. That's if Tesla hits certain milestones over the next decade. Among those targets, growth in the company's earnings and market value. Tesla delivering 1 million of its yet-to-be-released Optimus robots. That's just one of the targets. Prediction market, Kalshi, up with a contract right now on when Musk will become a trillionaire. Musk making some other headlines of the meeting. But before we even get there, look at that for a second. So 55% chance, more than a 50% chance by 2030 that he is a trillionaire.
By 2029, more than a 50% chance.
But by the way, for that to happen, my understanding is, he would affect to capture, to become a trillionaire, because he's already got how much?
I don't know, a lot, more than he'll ever need.
400 billion?
Yeah, he wants to be in charge, obviously.
Right, but the contract's for another trillion, so they're not. This is not even suggesting that he gets all of it. This is suggesting, I think, he gets just probably a little bit more than half of it. Of course, they got to get the market cap to over $8 billion for him to get $8 trillion with a T. Sorry, it's early in the morning and B's and T's. Can't believe we even talk in T's like this.
You can't believe we're talking about T's on a day like this, on the same week that New York City elected basically, whatever you want to call him, a democratic socialist, a communist, whatever you want to call him. He's 34 years old, and he absolutely eviscerates anyone who's a billionaire. Anyone who's created all that wealth, who's created all those jobs, who's paid taxes, and who's all the employees that they employ are paying taxes. All the shareholders that also were enriched as the market cap grows on most of the company, if they're founders. Not all of them are founders, obviously. Some of them inherit it. But the idea that billionaires are not a positive force, someone like Elon Musk, for society, that's where we are right now in the zeitgeist of the moment. And I find it incredibly frustrating. I know you'll push back and give me the other side, but this is a 34-year-old who's never had an actual job, probably hasn't contributed one thing to what's going on in this country, versus Elon Musk, who, this is not a zero-sum game. He didn't steal the $1 trillion from other people. He didn't take it out of babies' mouths. It's not that people aren't getting, it's not a zero-sum game. This is creating wealth. And you got, like I said, you got a place like Norway. Their entire GDP, no one in Norway has ever created anything close to this in terms of wealth and impact on society and the future possibilities of what Elon Musk is doing. Maybe Walter Isaacson can say all this when he comes on.
Okay, so I'm not going to take the other side of this at all.
Because you've been supportive of his pay packages in the past,
100%,
and now if he can pull it off,
I remain that way.
If he can pull it off.
But I do want to say this. I do want to say this piece of it.
Okay.
I think that if you are Elon Musk or you are the elites in this country,
you got
to not consider what's going on here.
No one's denying that.
No, and try to figure out how either to fix it, and or make it seem, and not just seem, feel fairer. So we often talk about the tax code, people paying taxes. It seems to me that there's so much low-hanging fruit. I've been talking about this forever, that would make the country both more economically viable, and I think people would say, okay, people are paying their fair share, that it might change some of the dynamic around this. But there's so much pushback on the other side around, whether it's estate taxes we've talked about over the years, or carried interest, or I would argue to you that potentially capital gains taxes at the super high end. If you want to, there are things that we could do.
I agree.
That
Andrew,
would make people feel
that might be necessary, but not sufficient. You can raise more money, but you still don't know what the hell to do with it. We've got a lot of money now. We failed at solving all these problems. Jamie Dimon talked about it yesterday. The bottom 20% of the country, they don't live in a safe place. They don't get decent education. They don't have any upward mobility. There's a lot of problems, but just simple transfer payments from the haves to the have-nots is not going to do it.
I'm not saying it's transfer payments unto itself.
Okay, you just want to raise taxes to do what with?
Because I think there's lots of things that you would want to do.
We do a lot. We try to do a lot of things already, and we fail miserably.
We fail miserably, but I think both on the education side of how we do things.
How are you going to fix that? Charter schools? You got one side with the teachers union that won't allow any charter schools.
I understand. I believe that ultimately the charter school approach is going to be a much better, not across the board, but to create competition in the business is completely and utterly necessary. On health care.
Not everyone agrees with you there.
Not everyone. No. Look, I think
few people in a certain party
I think
agree
that
with
the
you.
unions in the school systems, unfortunately, have created a demonstrable problem that needs to be fixed.
Self-serving.
But that doesn't mean we need to break up the unions. It means there's other things that we can do.
Healthcare. What do you want to do with healthcare? It's an issue that we need to fix. We've tried to fix it. The Unaffordable Care Act did not fix it. We need to do a lot more than that to try to figure out. Maybe do you want to just have carte blanche for all health care across the board? A lot of countries have that. A lot of people argue for that. Will that fix it? Or will we have flat GDP for 15 years like Canada?
I'm not sure having better health care is going to create flat GDP in America.
No, having worse health care. Spending all your money trying to do that one way or Canada's got a lot of problems, and I'm responding to some of the mail that I get sometimes, which has caused me to look at really what's happened over the last 10, 15 years of that.
But I think spending more money on infrastructure will, by the way, pay dividends down the road. Pay dividends in terms of just our ability to grow as a country.
Spending money on infrastructure and you're going to say picking winners and losers because Trump does it too, but infrastructure in the way that it was done with, you got to force a transition to clean energy. You got to do renewables. You got to have electrical vehicle mandates by 2030. That type of infrastructure isn't helping anyone. Did you see the news on Ford?
I did see the news.
They've lost $13 billion on the EV transition, and they're going to stop making it. Who of these rednecks out in the middle of the country buys an F-150 that's electric? None of them.
But here's the other problem. We're now getting into a situation in this country where, because of the tariffs that we've put together, we will never have a competitive car, automobile industry.
I saw someone say if the tariffs get struck down, the market's going to go up 5,000 points if the tariffs get struck down. I don't happen to believe that's the case. I think it'd be somewhere in the middle, but we may get to find out what happened.
But I do think...
I'm sorry about the Ford. Maybe some other people buy electric, but you know what I mean. Guys with the cowboy hats down in Texas probably aren't plugging in their... They like the big gas guzzling. That's the best-selling vehicle
All I'm saying is that to not be, not just cognizant, but we need to think more about what is going on in this country and why some of this country feels the way they do. You and I may not feel this way, but we got to figure it. We just got to spend more time on that.
We've been hearing this from Dalio for 10 years. We have a civil war, and we do need to pay attention to it. And there's no doubt. But then part of the reason that these tariffs, that Trump is even trying to do it, is to try to address the hollowed out middle class in the middle of the country, where capitalism, it's not capitalism's fault. It's the way that capitalism is sort of poisoned by different government regulation. But globalization, when you can get $2 an hour workers in the rest of the world, you saw what happened. We lost how many thousands of factories in the middle of the country? Does tariffs fix that? How do we...
No, but the other question is, would we be better off actually trying to upskill those workers that would have historically been involved in manufacturing and move them into a services economy?
But there are apparently Ivy Leaguers that have philosophy degrees that are jealous of guys that know how to weld.
Well, look, this is the next complication of AI and technology, which I think is going to make all of this that much
short of UBI paid for by your billionaires, what's your answer?
It's not paid for by billionaires.
That's where you're going to get some of the money, right?
Well, maybe you'd get some of the money from the billionaires, but the truth is, if you collected all of the money from the billionaires,
not enough.
You'd be 6 months into
now
1 year.
You sound like me.
But that doesn't mean that you don't want to collect some of it. Also, because you have people in this country who don't think that it's a fair system, and they're looking at that and saying, "How is this happening?"
Right.
So there also,
and you got a lot of people using that as an excuse to not even try.
Sure, but that's the point, and that's why you need to create a semblance of something that feels fair to people.
I think of most countries in the world, the possibility of doing something here is better than anywhere else in terms of upward mobility. You disagree with that still?
No, I don't disagree with that. I just think that it's not preordained. I don't think that this idea.
We have work to do.
We've talked about how
you don't throw the baby out with the
American exceptionalism is not preordained. We have to work at it all the time.
But capitalism, I saw someone wrote to me yesterday, it's, leaving out all the good that socialism has done in the world. They brought up India and they brought up China. And it's like neither one of those places brought people out of poverty from socialism. They brought it out from pseudo forms of capitalism.
We got to go. I'm told that there's actually news today.
We just made some news. Warren Buffett says, don't believe everything that you see. The legendary investor found videos posted on Google that purport to be him, but are video images or AI-created images impersonating him. And he called out the videos in a press release from Berkshire Hathaway last night. It says, in part, Mr. Buffett is concerned that these types of fraudulent videos are becoming a spreading virus. Individuals who are less familiar with Mr. Buffett may believe that these videos are real and be misled by the content. It's not the first time Buffett has flagged this type of content. The Berkshire release also pointing to this coming Monday when Buffett will release his annual Thanksgiving letter. If you see a video where he says, man, I just sold a lot of blank, or I just bought a lot of blank, it's not him, because you only find out what he does from filings like months after.
I have not seen these videos.
No, I haven't either.
Usually on my algorithm, I would think.
But the way you'd want to use them is to pump a stock or to do something, I guess, try to manipulate something.
I imagine somebody might try to do that.
Right. I mean, I don't think it's dangerous just that he's saying like silly stuff or, I don't know, something funny, a meme type thing. It'd be something you try to use to manipulate. Or to sell
gold or something like that.
I
mean, they've used your image, and not AI, but they've used your image to try to sell gold or all sorts of things. They've used my image online in all sorts of wild ways.
I've been recommending all kinds of stuff on some of these. If it has some weird like 8 in my handle instead of just @JoeSquawk, it's not me. It's just, and I'm not on Facebook, and I'm not on Instagram. So it's either Twitter or nothing, and I've got my check mark.
You've got your check mark.
And I've got tens of dozens of followers. So that should be.
Well, after you've blocked all the others.
Coming
up, folks.
Tease will be next.
Coming up on Squawk Pod, Dr. Mehmet Oz joins us.
Different than Oz Perlman.
They both do different forms of magic.
He now runs the Center for Medicare and Medicaid, and the Trump administration has announced negotiated lower prices for popular prescription weight loss drugs.
We're making it easier for companies to say yes to bringing their prices in line with what other countries are paying. It's fairer for America, but it's also more sustainable for these pharmaceutical companies, and that's why, in general, their stock prices are staying strong.
Plus, how the quick-thinking doctor reacted when an attendee at the White House announcement needed medical attention, right after this. Welcome back. This is Squawk Pod from CNBC. Today with Joe Kernen and Andrew Ross Sorkin. Here's Andrew.
The White House reaching deals with Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk to cut prices for their popular weight loss drugs. The Trump administration officials now saying that monthly out-of-pocket costs for injections and upcoming pills could range from $50 to $350 starting next year. That depends on dosage and insurance coverage as well. Medicare is going to start covering the drugs for obesity for the first time starting in mid-2026. We're going to speak with the administrator of the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. Dr. Oz is going to be with us.
Different than Oz Perlman.
They both do different forms of magic.
Wow, that's nice of you to say that about Mehmet.
Mehmet has saved lives. That's magic unto itself.
Mehmet was one of the leading surgeons for heart transplant. That's who Roger Altman wanted to do his heart transplant. So he's not just a guy on TV, like some of the other people in the administration, not just people on TV. Besides, we're on TV. Why are we trashing people on TV all the time?
You're the one talking.
White House announcing a deal with Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk to slash prices of obesity drugs. Joining us now with the details, Dr. Mehmet Oz, the administrator for the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. And we've seen a couple of instances of this, Mr. Secretary. And thank you for joining us. We appreciate you. I guess I should call you Mr. Administrator, not Mr. Secretary. But we appreciate you. That sounds weird, doesn't it? I'm going to call you Dr. Oz. Everybody knows that. Dr. Oz, I want to talk to you about really what Democrats want to open the government. But let's talk about this first. Is this a template for what we can do with a lot of different overpriced pharmaceuticals, if they are overpriced?
Let's set the stage, Joe. I know you know this, but for everyone who doesn't appreciate how much of a ripoff we've been living through with global freeloading, the president adamantly has been saying that he will no longer tolerate the American people paying 3 times more for the exact same drugs made in the same factories, put in the same bottles, in the same boxes as folks pay in Europe. And so this most favored nation drug pricing strategy has resulted initially with a leading U.S. company, Pfizer, then a leading European company, AstraZeneca. Then we did all the fertility drugs. And today, maybe the biggest of all, because it's the single largest category of drug spend in America, these GLP-1 weight loss drugs. And the reason yesterday that we embarked on this voyage of keep trying to share with America why this is such a critical opportunity is because if you're sitting in my seat, if you're administering Medicare and Medicaid and the exchanges, you need to figure out how to bend that cost curve down because they're increasing at 7, 8, 9%. And that's 3, 4, 5% faster than the economy is growing. So we've got to find a way of actually bringing the real costs down, not just throwing money at it to reduce what consumers pay, but actually bringing down total cost of care. And if you're going to drop drug prices meaningfully, you'll do that. But in particular in this category, because of all the things we can do, Joe, reducing obesity in America not only buys us a lot of health, but it also reduces the healthcare spend. We estimate that obesity by itself probably explains a quarter of the total healthcare costs. And so by using these medications, which on average can drop your weight 15, 20% over the course of a year. And again, obesity is not an absence of GLP-1s. You have to use diet, exercise, all the MAHA elements that Secretary Kennedy speaks of are vital to this process. But part of making life easier, making yourself healthier, and making it easy to be healthy, which is what MAHA is really about, is using medications if they're effective. So most Americans would consider this if they were overweight, and a third of us are. Unfortunately, most Americans can't afford these drugs. They're $1,200, $1,300 a month. So in this deal, we are reducing the cost on average to about $250 a month. And if you're on Medicare, which I administer, you're going to pay $50 copay, and government will pick up the rest, and we can afford that because at that price point, within 2 years, it'll be cost neutral. It'll save us so much by reducing downstream problems of obesity like hypertension and problems with your diabetes and even bigger problems like renal failure, strokes, heart attacks, dementia, that we'll actually start saving money. And if you're on Medicaid, it'll be free to you, which is still okay because governors have a moral hazard right now. Obesity is rampant in underserved, vulnerable populations, but they're the ones who benefit the most as well and reduce costs when you do that. So we'll actually help state budgets by driving down these prices.
The narrative of the pharmaceutical companies, doctor, was that the way Europe offered these drugs at much lower prices was basically price controls. And, the innovation is done here in this country. And in this country, we allow companies that spend a lot of money up front on research and development of these great drugs. We allow them to recoup all that investment. Whereas if it was in Europe and you don't allow them to price the drugs to where you can actually benefit from all your research and development, there's not as much innovation over there. And if we import those price controls here, the argument is from the pharmaceutical industry that they're not going to be able to afford innovation and testing on new drugs. Is that totally false, or is the truth somewhere in the middle?
I think that specific narrative is false. And my evidence for that is all these drug companies, Eli Lilly and Novo, Nordisk, are well-run companies. Their CEOs were in the Oval Office. They came there willingly. They were not hostages. They've all signed these deals. Pfizer did too, AstraZeneca as well. The argument that we're making and they're agreeing with is that it's inherently unfair for us to pay 3 times more. We still pay most of the money for development. But I hear the concern that we need to be able to innovate. And so if you get Europeans to pay a bit more, we can pay a bit less. Also, some of the areas we're giving opportunities to companies include giving them access to larger populations by making these drugs more affordable. But Joe, here's the real conversation. You sit in a room with these executives, you look them in the eye and say, you went into this business because at some point you really cared about people. And as an American, and in the case of the Eli Lilly CEO, he said, you really want to have your legacy about making a innovative medication class that is changing lives accessible to everybody. It's the most American thing we can do. It's about fairness. And the president has adamantly been pushing this narrative because most Americans get that story. I'd also give you a better metaphor than what you were saying. I think it's more like NATO. We have external threats. Everyone's got to chip in. How much they chip in is the question. Yes, maybe we'll pay a bit more in some instances to get the innovation there, but we all have to defend ourselves. NATO countries are chipping in more. We're asking the same thing right now for an internal threat, disease, illness, cancer. And I'll share one big secret with you. If you have an advanced cancer in America, your survival numbers are better than if you're in Europe because you actually get access to all these drugs. There are no price controls here. The market moves this. We're making it easier for companies to say yes, to bringing their prices in line with what other countries are paying. It's fairer for America, but it's also more sustainable for these pharmaceutical companies. And that's why, in general, their stock prices are staying strong. Investors realize they want stability in the markets, and they don't want government coming down hard. These are negotiated settlements. And I've got news for you. There's a dozen more companies waiting in line to come down the pike to have their prices align with what the rest of the world is paying.
Thank you, Doctor, for that. You're going to have to fix the healthcare system in the United States or make the Affordable Care Act actually affordable instead of the unaffordable Care Act. Let's talk about this government shutdown. So we know it's a clean CR. It's the same funding that the Biden administration was doing. The government should have stayed open. But the Democrats, maybe they have a point, that people need to. Obviously, people that are going to have their subsidies double or triple, it's something that resonates with people. And that's why you can't even find, you would think if a party closes down the government to get something that they want through extortion, you would think that the Republicans would have the upper hand. That's not what it is because the healthcare system is so broken. And I guess the rap is that President Trump talks about alternatives. Republicans talk about fixing the healthcare system. But right now, Obamacare is all we have, and it's important to the people that have it.
Well, Obamacare is a program I manage, and I'm going to take care of it. Just to put it in context, the average person in original Obamacare, which is folks making between 1 and 4 times the poverty level, their average premium is going to be $50 this year. We know that because the numbers are already out there. Healthcare.gov is already, the marketplace is open. People are signing up. So its average premium that you have to pay out of pocket is $50, and that's $13 more than this year. So in that original population, there doesn't seem to be a huge issue, and we're not hearing huge complaints. The added benefit that occurred during COVID, and again, we're not talking about the actual subsidies to the ACA, to the exchanges. They're already there. They didn't change. There were additional subsidies added that took the support from being 80% of your cost of care to 90% plus. That's the part that's being disputed. And that really hits hard at what's called the cliff, when you get above 400% of the poverty level. And there's a little bit of a hazard here because if you look at all the examples that you see in the newspapers, it's usually a 62-year-old who has a $150,000 pension. That's more than 4 times poverty level. And so they retired early because they could crutch on the Affordable Care Act insurance program subsidized by the government. And now they can't retire early. They've got to wait till Medicare, the other program I administer, for that reason. So I completely feel that pain. And that's really the area that most of this debate is about. But you've hit a very important issue. The real concern is the total overall cost of care in medicine. It's just increasing too much. And the real salvation to this is not going to be throwing more money at premium dollars or enhanced premium dollars or COVID era enhanced premium dollars. I mean, after a while, it becomes hard to keep up with how many subsidies there are. We have to actually reduce the underlying cost of care. That's why in the One Big Beautiful Bill, we did offer some solutions. There was something called a CSR that would have naturally brought down premiums in the exchanges. It was rejected by the Democrats. They didn't want an answer. And that's why I think this is being used as a political tool. The things we need to do to truly reduce cost of care, the Democratic Party doesn't seem to enhance. They just want government to pay more for it. It's not a long-term sustainable solution. And just like we did with the most favored nation drug pricing with pharmaceutical companies, you've got to come to the table with solutions everyone rationally thinks can make sense long-term. But what we did in the One Big Beautiful Bill was bend the curve for Medicaid. We've got to do the same thing with the ACA.
But Dr. Oz, I think the big question is ultimately how to do that and what that really looks like. And not, I mean, we can take the government shutdown piece of this out of the situation. But if you were king for the day, and I know President Trump has been talking since he was president last time about trying to fix things meaningfully, do you think you could ultimately reduce costs and provide better service? Is that even possible, or do you think it's just a fundamental change in expectations that has to take place?
It is absolutely possible to reduce costs. I'll give you two concrete examples. Over 10% of the $1.75 trillion that I administer is fraud, waste, and abuse. That we can deal with, and we're getting aggressive. And just this week, we put out a rule to take out $23 billion of what we believe in often was not well-spent money with these skin substitutes that are no longer going to be sold the way they were, where you actually literally pay doctors an extra 6% if they pay the most expensive version of the product, not the products that actually are selling in Europe for fractions of the price. And the second big issue, which will probably take the healthcare costs down at least another 10%, is by truly empowering beneficiaries with information. Every other industry you talk about, as, for example, AI you were mentioning earlier, all these industries benefit, whether you're Uber Eats or Uber itself or streaming videos, they benefit from AI supporting the system. Banks work better that way. We haven't brought those tools into medicine in a meaningful fashion, and we have a digital transformation that we are heavily embarked on that will allow us to bring those same efficiencies into the healthcare system. And by empowering patients at the time of care with better information about what they ought to do, by nudging them with insights that can help them with chronic illnesses, by giving doctors incentives to use these tools and giving them also the better ability to manage their care as medicine rapidly advances with better tools that cost less, we reduce costs. And the most important message I have is bad care is expensive. You pay someone to do a bad job, you pay someone to fix that bad job, and you pay for the complications. So the most important thing we can do in healthcare to reduce costs is improve the quality, and this president is committed to this. The Secretary Kennedy will not take no for an answer. That's what MAHA is really about, and I'm passionate we'll get to the finish line.
Dr. Oz, just to bring the conversation full circle since we started at GLP-1s, I'm just curious about one component part of this, which is how quickly do you think that the GLP-1 drugs are actually going to improve? I mean, one of the things that a lot of people worry about is muscle loss and all of the sort of component part issues in that. And I wonder whether, I mean, as you think about trade-offs and also what you think we're going to learn about these drugs and how they work over time.
The fields are advancing rapidly. I learned yesterday, and I'll break news with you here because I had the CEOs cornered in the Oval Office. We are going to have pill versions of these on the market by March. Marty McCary, who runs the FDA, is going to fast track these approvals. And so we're already looking at a new generation of solutions. We estimate that the American people will lose about 135 million pounds over the next year with these solutions. And we are also optimistic that within 2 years, they'll pay for themselves, as I mentioned, just because they're going to reduce some of the healthcare expenses, right. But they're also going to be made in ways that reduce the muscle loss, some of the side effects, the anorexia. Right. But, you know, Aaron, there's other benefits as well. There's a reduction in addictive behavior. I mean, there's less online shopping. So there's other opportunities for this family of medications that go far beyond just overeating.
Right. And then finally, Doctor, you got put into service yesterday inside the Oval Office. Tell us what happened, because we were all watching this video that's gone viral.
Well, standing for hours at a time, if you don't know how to do it the right way, it can be difficult. And this wonderful gentleman, I noticed his knees were beginning to buckle. And you don't have to be a doctor to know this. The most important thing if someone's about to faint is catch them. You know, and make sure, because the big injury happens when they bang their head on the ground. The cause of the fainting is almost always manageable. So we got him down. We put a little chocolate in his mouth. We got an IV in, and he got excellent medical care. And I connected with him last night. He went home to his wonderful wife. But I got to share just a little behind the scenes here. The president, God bless him, called the wife from the Oval Office, giving her updates on how her husband was doing. I got it. When you actually know the man as a human being, not as a political actor, you have to love him. And I appreciate that he did that.
And Secretary of HHS Kennedy was heading off to get a warm towel, or initially, I think, to get a chair because the guy's knees were buckling. The haters on the left, I mean, the conspiracy theories, I'm not even sure what they're implying he was running for. Why are they asking why RFK Jr. was going out of the picture? What else would it be? He was afraid it was contagious or something? I don't even know where they get these ideas.
Joe, he literally went to get a towel because he's been in situations.
I know what he was doing. I fully know what he was doing, but it's just beyond beyond belief. Anyway, Dr. Oz, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
God bless you.
Next on Squawk Pod, will Elon Musk be the world's first trillionaire? Well, Tesla shareholders voted to approve his path to get there, but not without hitting some big milestones, like sextupling the company's market value. Musk biographer Walter Isaacson has a message for those with raised eyebrows.
I remember you in 2018, and you were quoting all of your sources in the financial industry, and you said for that $50-some-odd billion pay package, that hitting the marks would be almost impossible, that everybody you talked to said it was ridiculous. Well, he did it.
You're listening to Squawk Pod. Here's Andrew Ross Sorkin.
Up and Andrew, Q.
History-making moment, folks. Tesla CEO Elon Musk, after shareholders approved a pay package worth up to $1 trillion. Here's a guy who's got a memory. Elon Musk author Walter Isaacson. He's a Perella Weinberg advisory partner, professor at Tulane, CNBC contributor, friend of the show, and it's great to see you, sir. Nice to see you, Walter. Contextualize this for us. I think there's a lot of people who are looking at what some people even describe as a split screen, this idea that Elon Musk is on his way to potentially $1 trillion pay package. He's got to do a lot for that to happen. At the same time, in our country, or at least in this city, New York, where Mondami won, and I think people are trying to sort of grapple with sort of the larger philosophical question that's taking place in our country before we even get into the Elon Musk of it all. What do you think?
Well, it's definitely true that right now you have greater excesses of wealth than inequalities of wealth. You wrote about it in 1929 in your book when you had those sort of things, and it leads to a populist backlash, and I think you're seeing that.
When you look at the pay package that shareholders approved, I don't think they truly had an option in all of this. If you were handicapping the situation, what do you think the chances are that he hits these milestones? I mean, the last time this kind of pay package was put together, people thought it was absurd. It was never going to happen.
I'm going to prove you right about historical memory, because I remember you in 2018, and you were quoting all of your sources in the financial industry, and you said for that $50-some-odd billion pay package, that hitting the marks would be almost impossible, that everybody you talked to said it was ridiculous. Well, he did it. This time it seems even more of an insane moonshot. He's got to get 1 million robots sold, 1 million totally driverless cars sold. I think increase the share price of the company 6-fold. So it seems more than just a stretch goal. It seems a moonshot goal. But pulling back my historical perspective, you and I and many others thought it was unlikely last time, and he did it.
Here's a different philosophical question. So I love the sort of pay for performance idea. The truth is the Tesla shareholders will, if he does well, they will do even better. There's no question. Yeah. Having said that, there's another view, which is you look at somebody like a Jeff Bezos or Warren Buffett, who got stock in their company at the very beginning and never got another share of stock. What do you think about just those two different approaches?
Well, certainly I think that Musk feels he needs the stock not only for the money of it, he wants control of a company that's going to be taking AI and put it into the real world settings. And he's said this for 5, 6, 7 years. If he's going to do the Optimus robot, the self-driving cars, he founded OpenAI with Sam Altman because he wanted control over how AI would be deployed and, in his mind, keep it safe. He tried to fold OpenAI into Tesla a few years ago, and that didn't work. So I think the main thing here is him feeling that he needs at least 25% if he's going to have robotics, Optimus, full self-driving, and AI all in one company.
What do you think about there was another vote, a fascinating one, about whether the board should consider acquiring a part of, or I guess potentially all of, though I think it was really about a part of, potentially XAI, his business that includes the social media platform, but really is his AI effort.
You put your finger on it, man. This is so interesting. He started XAI, and I have a chapter or two on it in the book, because he wanted to have a separate AI company, and he felt he needed to make it an independent company. But deep inside, he knew it should always be inside of Tesla, just like he thought OpenAI should migrate to inside of Tesla. What you had is the shareholders very split on the notion, should Tesla take a major stake in Elon Musk's AI company? It kind of passed, but there were so many abstentions. And the particularly interesting thing is Robin Denholz, the outside director who's chair of the Tesla board, says, well, they have different missions, so maybe that shouldn't happen. I think you're going to see that play out in a pretty tense way, because I suspect Elon Musk is going to want to take all of his AI work, including building the chips, working with NVIDIA. They should all be part of one company eventually.
Walter Isaacson, it's always good to see you and get your perspective on something that you are truly an expert in. We appreciate it. Thank you.
That is the pod for today and for the week. It's Friday. We made it to another weekend. Congrats to us. Squawk Box is hosted by Joe Kernen, Becky Quick, and Andrew Ross Sorkin. Tune in weekday mornings on CNBC at 6 Eastern to get the smartest takes and analysis from our TV show right into your ears. Follow Squawk Pod wherever you get your podcasts. We'll meet you right back here on Monday. Have a great weekend.
We are clear. Thanks, guys.